mom being outspoken. I've just never seen weak women until I grew up. So
over here, so you came over here and,
and saw these weak ass women out here.
And I'm like, wow, you're
These
putting up with
victims.
what? Like, you let them squat in your house? Like, what the fuck? So, like, it's...
Yeah, that's weird, man. You're like, yeah.
You know what? You ain't wrong.
Ever be
You're
like
not wrong.
that. Yeah, exactly. You ain't wrong.
What's going on, everybody? Another episode here with you of Wuz Good. My name is Raymond Acosta. I'm here with the usual suspect.
Yo, what's up? It's BE, aka Sticky Fresh on IG. If you ain't following me, go ahead and do so.
And as you can see, we are here with another gender, because it does take us to the topic today, and we'll introduce that in a little bit. But yeah, E, could you introduce our lady friend here?
So our lady friend who's here with us tonight is actually one of my best friends. Her name is Joelle. What's up, Joelle? How you doing?
Hi, Joelle.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Joelle. Let them know your Insta, Joelle. Let them know your socials.
It's Joelle Gauthier. That's it.
That's it.
Joelle Gauthier.
We'll make sure we have that thing flashing. We'll have the thing flashing for you so people can follow you. She's got some dope stuff, and she's got some funny stuff, some very creative stuff. We were talking a little bit before the show, and she showed me some of her art, and I was very impressed. That's actually the first time I've seen it. Very dope.
Thank
very
you.
dope. But yeah, today we're actually, E and I were talking a little earlier. I was like, hey, what can we bring to the table here? Because we've been kind of all over the table, all over the board. Last week's episode, I don't know if you checked it out. Make sure you peep it out. It was supposed to be lighthearted, but we got a little deep into that thing, and people were kind of chiming in and hit me up on the side. I was like, yo, what was going on with that? So if you guys want to know what happened there, it got a little crazy. Crazy as like, I don't know how to properly explain it, but definitely peep it out. We'll put the link in the video here. But this week, we are bringing in our lady friend here because our topic for this week is gender stereotypes. It is something that I came across on video, and I was like, you know what? I think this is a good conversation to be had, primarily because not necessarily just gender stereotypes itself. I wanted to see how that kind of holds up, because when you say something like that, it's just kind of across the board. We know a lot of it has changed, but we want to kind of dive into what it really is nowadays and what has actually changed. What do you guys think? Hey, everyone. Before we continue, I do want to ask that you do us a favor and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got a few things that's coming up that we're very excited about, a few content that we've been working on the side here. Our goal is 1,000 subscribers, but there's a minimum of 500 that we've set out there for ourselves. And if we do hit that, we have a little bit of a giveaway, excuse me. So that's going to be probably presented here within the next few episodes and also on our IG. So make sure you follow us there also at Cold Rice Media. But again, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for following us. Enjoy the show.
Man, the first thing comes up when I think about gender stereotype, I think old school. Yeah. Think about like homemakers and what they're supposed to be doing, and it being women and stuff like that, which is funny to me. I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, I think it's funny that women, when they were cooking, we were homemakers, right? We were like housewives, and then men became cooks and they're fucking chefs.
Yeah, they're throwing down.
That's true.
It's like somebody said, you guys need to learn how to do that, and somebody took it personal. One of these fellas, and they said, you know what?
The men made it a competition while the women were just feeding the family. But that's
it is with those though. I think there's still way more women that can throw down. But I think what it is with far more visibility out there with social media and and film and all these content creators, I think the men actually took that to a call to action to actually put more shows out of them actually cooking. I mean, you see,
but men started doing it for profit when women were just we're just feeding families, right?
And not being a slave to the kitchen, right?
Yeah, and we're just like, we have to do this, and then they're like, I make beauty for fun. So, I mean, that's the difference, really, that I see. But it is nowadays the women are just as busy as the men, so the men pick up cooking, and like my dad cooked growing up. My mom didn't have time; she was the working one.
Oh
so,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was normal to me, and I cook, and I've been with people who don't cook, and yeah, nowadays it's really mixed up.
How about you, E? Can you throw down in the kitchen?
Man, I could throw down in the air fryer, in a microwave. I could make a little bit of. Actually, no, I'm just playing. But no, I could throw down in the kitchen if I really needed to. I just need to have like the ingredients and like the recipes in front of me. Because if I'm trying to just freestyle it, man, it might just come out like bland, no taste, nothing like that. But you know, Filipino food, we got patis. If you guys don't know what patis is, it's fish sauce. So you put that in everything with a little bit of MSG, and think you should be straight.
These days, we also have Trader Joe's. So I always joke that Trader Joe's is made for people that don't cook. They just know how to heat shit up. That's all they have to do. Because everything at Trader Joe's, you can just heat it up and that's just cooked. It's like no seasoning involved, no nothing. And yeah, it's these days that's cooking. Like for me, I do everything from like, it's not from what I know, but I mean, we have the convenience these days of these things being just as good as what we make, and we don't have to buy the excessive ingredients.
Right.
So yeah, but people are going to stop cooking soon. I mean, in Korea, they barely cook. Everything's like pretty heat up.
Yeah, that also with like Uber and all these other delivery, like over there in Washington, I don't know how much it is they charge per delivery, but I remember when I got back over there, I remember it being like, on average, I think it was like $10-15 per delivery. Over here, it's pennies to the dollar. Ooh. And so that's why it's so much easier. You can sit there and just, Chipotle, no problem, just because they'll just deliver it to your door for like, maybe sometimes even free if you get that additional. Exactly.
You guys don't even have sidewalks.
Like, we do have sidewalks. We got rattlesnakes that you got to step over, though. But yeah, we got sidewalks. What are you talking about? Yeah, I was just getting the mail and there was a scorpion.
Oh man, the driveway. I know you guys got massive driveways out there, right? Because if I know the houses in Texas, like what they say, everything's bigger in Texas, right?
It is.
We don't even have bugs on our windshields, so I don't know what we would do with cockroaches or anything, or snakes.
But dude, is that something that, I mean, is that a major plus? Like, how much value is that if a man can throw down in the kitchen for you? Like
depends if I can cook. Mm-hmm. If I can cook,
how you are. So I already know how to throw down. Do I want competition in the kitchen? Too many cooks in the kitchen type of thing?
He cooks his own flavor. He can cook sometimes when he wants, and I can cook sometimes, My parents made it a competition to the point where my dad won. And then my mom was like, fine, just take it over then. But,
that's true.
Yeah, you're going to be the cook and you're going to win.
But I wouldn't be like that, because I understand that some days I may not be able to, and some days he may not be able to. So I would expect that, we would communicate. But if they don't cook, I don't mind that either.
Everybody has their own specialty.
Yeah, I would also expect them, if they don't cook, not to ask. They just get fed what they get. You know what I mean? Like, because if you can't cook, unless you're going to bring it home and buy it, like if I'm going to have to cook it, I'm not trying to cook. I just cook for us, not you. So, yeah.
Well, that's also another thing, like you said, is like, oh, go ahead.
No, that's okay.
You're also?
Go ahead.
Okay. No, that also kind of just leads into the next thing. I think you had mentioned that your mom, when your mom was basically working and everything, that allowed your dad during that. It's not the traditional, again, the gender stereotype of where the woman is raising the children primarily, right? It's just with your mom being out there and your dad's also at home and raising the children. Do you think that's more prevalent nowadays, to where the men are actually stepping in, or is it really more the women still raising the children? That is another stereotype that was out there before.
I do know for a fact that no matter who raises you, you're going to take after your gender parent. That's just who you look up to. And that's the first example, because I'm going to, whatever my mom does, I'm going to look at, because she's me, she's a woman, it's normal. But I can't look at my dad and be like, I'm like him. I learn from him, yes. But I don't necessarily take, I'm sure maybe you guys don't take from your mom, you're more likely to take from your dad,
I'm a lot more. I think it's just more the assertiveness of that gender parent towards that child. I think for me, as I'm just a lot more. If I had a daughter, because I've got 3 boys. If I had a daughter, I think I'd be a little bit more assertive there also, because I would want my daughter as strong minded and as you know as career minded and as open as I am. And it all depends also the other parent and how they are also. But I wouldn't know though, because I've only got the 3 boys, and the 3 boys definitely take up on me.
Right.
My mom was the strong, the worker. So she was the one that pushed us, never told us to be ourselves, not feminine. Like we were totally raised in a masculine environment, and my dad had no say about that. Like he treated us like princesses, right? Like we were little princesses, but he wasn't. He like held us and like played with us and stuff. But my mom was like, don't get too like girly and stuff like that. And she's the one that really drove us to be more, want more, and you can always have more. So it's that was the roles. And I guess you could see that it was a little switched up maybe, but I think by the time my parents were parents, like they're in their 70s now, it was already turning around back then. So by our time now, it's pretty normal to see.
Yeah. So with like in my family, my mom was the provider because she was the one that came here from the US as a midwife and then became a travel agent. And then my dad came in a little later. He was just the one that's watching us all, taking us to school, feeding us, cooking and doing all that stuff, right? But then again, the only reason for that was because my dad was ill. So he had no choice. So like you were saying before, right? It's like you're more closer to the gender side of who raised you. But to me, I learned everything from my mom, right? So like that, the hard work, the dedication, all the love that you got to give out to like your siblings and stuff like that. I think I get all that characteristics from my mom. But I get what you're saying for those who are very close, right? And you have like your dad that's there all the time. You want to be like your dad. You don't want to seem like you're weak. But I think both of them equally are pretty strong and leveled. So I don't know where I lean, but if I could choose a side, I'll probably lean towards my mom.
That's interesting. That is interesting though, because I see that. Well, my dad was military, and he's very soft spoken. But when he did speak, and when he actually spoke what he was feeling, you knew what was. It was very he was man of very few words, but when he spoke, you understood where he was coming from, and it was very intense at that if he did. And my mom was always just very reactive, loud, angry most of the time. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would actually, I think I would be more like my mom. I am more like my mom at that point. That's interesting. That is interesting. Okay. Well, both your moms were the more, like you had mentioned, like the busier, the providers, right? And that doesn't really follow the traditional, the stereotype of just Westerners, right? To where the man is the bread maker, the breadwinner, right? Was there ever that looming kind of thing? Sometimes they jab at you. It's like, your wife is the breadwinner and everything like that. Has that ever existed? Is that type of
not in my
hierarchy
household
in the family? Yeah,
I don't think so. I mean, like I said before, it's pretty equal. So for that, I know from being a man, you got your pride and you got your ego. But as far as anybody like throwing jabs and throwing it in your face and stuff like that, no, I mean, they're pretty peaceful about it. But I know my dad did kind of feel a certain type of way that he couldn't be the provider. He couldn't do, all the stuff that a man's supposed to do. But we understood where he was coming from. He did what he could when he can, And like, for example, when my mom wanted to buy stuff just for the house or anything like groceries, my mom or my dad would be like, no, it's okay. I'll take care of that. I'll pay for the groceries and all the bills and stuff like that. And you just save your money or whatever. So that's how my household was. So no bickering about like hierarchy, who does this, who does that. Yeah.
My dad definitely let my mom follow her dreams. So that was a thing, like he didn't let having 3 kids push her back from who she was going to be. And that was a respect on itself, I think, for my mom not to be like, you're not making enough, it's like, or whatever. Like, she just knew that it's nice. It's just nice having someone to care for that side,
You said you're originally from France. Is that what that was? So when did you go to, so you moved to Seattle at what age?
8.
At 8. So how was life over there like? And what were the stereotypes over there? Was there any stereotypes for gender stereotypes? What you had witnessed at all? No?
No. And also we're Asian, so it's like they don't even expect us to have any kind of, like, they don't know our culture or anything.
You didn't fall into any of that?
No.
Any of the brackets?
None. And we're from Marseille, so we're from the south. And over there, it's pretty typical problems, but nobody. The women are strong. The women are very outspoken already, so that was normal to us. And then, my mom was, maybe it's just seeing my mom being outspoken. I've just never seen weak women until I grew up. So
over here, so you came over here
and saw these weak ass women out here,
and I'm like, "Wow, you're
these
putting
victims.
up with what? Like, you let them squat in your house? Like, what the fuck?" So like it's
that's weird, girl. Man. Yeah, like
you know what? You ain't wrong.
Ever be like
wrong?
That. Yeah, exactly.
We've seen it. Exactly, and that's the difference. But that's the good thing is, I don't know. I don't think I ever saw that. Little girls were very strong too. We were little tomboys, and it was normal. And we roughhouse with the boys, and we went home for lunch every day. So I think that break between, so you go to school and then you go home, and then at 1:00 you come back and you go to school until 5:00. But that time of lunch, you go home to have lunch with your parents. So you can opt to eat at the school, but usually that's expensive, and it shows people that your family's not around. So it's not a good thing. But if you do, it's a 7-course meal for children. So it's like pretty nice. But so you go home, and having that break between, having that break between, you really get to like, not be with kids so much. And like, you get to go back to your family and see what's important again before you go back. Yeah.
So that's interesting that you say when you grew up and started seeing, everyone else and all the other ladies that are just weak women, I guess. That's interesting. What do you put that on? What do you think? What's that put on? Is that more like just the coddling of Westerners?
No,
is there a lot of coddling?
No, it's addiction to trauma. Trauma bonding is a thing. People don't get therapists, and then they use each other, and they're like, my life, and then they use it against each other, and then it's like a cycle, toxicity. And toxicity, just like any habit, the more you practice it, the more it gets normal. So, and I don't understand it, and I'm not saying that women are weak, but I do see a lot, but there are also men who stay with things where I'm like, really, you put up with that? But that's I see it more sadly with women, because the men, somebody the other day was like talking to me about how she doesn't date anymore, and she's like, the men are different these days. And I was telling her that men are equal now, and it's not us equal to them, it's them equal to us. Meaning they have more feelings, they're more open to like being, like, you take over, they're not as masculine. That's how she was saying. And it makes sense to me. Yes, like the men are more, it seems like, equal to the women. Not the way we wanted, because women wanted to be equal, but we wanted to be equal with men, not men being more sensitive. Does that make sense?
So emotionally, where you could compare each other and be like, okay, now it's a right for a man to be sensitive and talk about their feeling. Because I know before, when you did that, it shows some kind of like weakness, right? It's what you were talking about. And no guy wants to be weak and want to share their feelings. We're supposed to be like tough and bold and loud and drink beer and stuff like that, right? And and not be like, oh, this is how I feel today, and work was hard, and I just need someone to talk to. Back in the day, I don't think I've ever heard my dad say that, So Yeah, you got a point there.
No, there's definitely less type of just openness to have that type of crossover conversations. I think there is, and especially in our generation, it's not. I don't think we're drinking less. I don't think we're being less brash when the fellas get together. Trust me, we're the same as I see it. But at the same time, it's like there's I know. But I think there's just a lot more openness to actually hear the other side and just having that conversation. And I think that's super healthy. And I think that's one of the best things that could have happened, in our generation. And I think it's not even, and that then kind of just thinned that line of the whole stereotype, because now you're more open. You get to understand, like you had mentioned, Joelle, it's like your dad was all about having your mom follow her dreams. And a lot of times there is a little bit of an ignorance to that. So we're like, no, I still have to provide and you still have to play this particular role. And that's kind of my situation with my wife. It was like, there was a point where, I'm very ambitious, but then, and again, I'm also I get super addicted to what I'm doing, and whatever it is I'm doing, I'm going to go 100%. And I just know myself better to where if I do, I kind of lose touch of that life balance. And I think my wife is much better at that. And especially in the type of work that she does, we both work from home, but then and the fact that I kind of was thinking, it's like, if I follow my path, it's going to end up being very, very devoted to work, to where it's about that money at that point, because I want to provide. If I wanted to follow that and just typical egomaniacal type of just I got to make money for my family type of thing, I would have gotten caught up. But knowing myself, and it's like and my wife she's super smart. And I know she's more than capable in actually taking that particular path. She took management path, and then now she's actually more of a senior analytical role. And she's great at that. And for me to kind of take a step back, let her kind of just take that particular role, and me having so much more time on the side, just taking care of the kids, running around town, hammering a few nails here and there, making dinner, and still doing work and still doing this. There's much more of a balance there for us. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more of people just looking at that particular balance within the family that's taken a little bit off that stereotypical stuff, right?
My dad's dream was to have and be, because his dad wasn't in his life for a majority of it. So his dream was to have children and be there for them. So, my mom's gift to him was kids, and he took care of us while she got to go. And her dream, like she is, I didn't get this ADHD and shit from nobody. Like her path was endless. She moved 3 kids, different countries, had all sorts of different businesses, like my mom. So she was always ever growing. It's not like she ever stayed in one place and got better. No, she just reached in all sorts of nets. And my dad let her do that. He also worked. So he, on top of that, like it was simple jobs like assembly or Boeing or something. So, it was steady income, and it was while my mom was being whatever she wanted. Not that she didn't make money; she just would dabble in things. So, they, I think they built themselves a structure. Dad wanted the family and wanted to be there for it, and mom wanted to be whatever she wanted to be, and they agreed on it. But
that's total role reversal, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
They had to do it because I think, with the war and then moving from Vietnam to France and having to start a family together, because there's no other Vietnamese people. There's nothing. So it's just you and your person, and you just have to make it work. If you were stuck on an island and you both don't speak the language, like it's hard. So I think that's why they built a family. So, because they were alone. Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, and I'm still kind of I'm trying to see if that actually applies to we can talk all day because it's our experience within our Filipino families, but I really have the strong feeling that that's not across the board. I wonder what it's like. I wish, we should have this conversation also with some folks with other nationalities and definitely visit that, because I definitely don't feel that that's the same in a lot of the white families and even like in the black families, right? It's like, I don't know. I think it would relate a little bit more. I don't know if that would relate more with like the Hispanic families too, with our.
If you've been through, well, Vietnamese people have been through, the war, and then we have, we have a huge population now from these kids that came from parents who ran away. Like there's a lot of us share the same history of our parent came from Vietnam and then started a life and blah, blah, blah. And the reasons why are usually about the same, where a lot of us are South End Vietnamese people, but that's just the Vietnamese. But you're right. Yeah. I don't know about everybody else's because not all Filipinos came for the same circumstance. So, and Cambodians have one that's more similar to ours, to Vietnamese people, and so do Thai people. So, but that's just because of, the wars.
A lot of refugees, right? Coming in from Thailand, Vietnam.
My mom was well off in Vietnam, so she was able to, her parents were able to just send her, but some didn't. Some had to take boats and some had to do whatever they could to get here. America was one of the only places that were taking Vietnamese people.
Oh, yeah. So did you guys get here through, like a lot of people got here through, sponsorships and also raffles?
Ours was sponsorship.
Lotteries.
Yes, there's those. So sponsorship, it was my aunt that sponsored us here, and that still took 16 years. So there's a reason I had to grow up by it. So I have two older sisters, Leslie, Susie, and then Joelle, right? My parents were like, oh, America, America. By me, they're like, oh shit, we're not going. Let's just give her a French name. And then we left 8 years after. So wow. My parents thought we were going to stay in France. Yeah. It's a long time. That's why they get those 90-day marriage things, because it's faster. It's the fastest way.
Well, that's how we were. I got petitioned over here. Well, my story is basically I got adopted. I had to be adopted by my grandparents. So it's technically for a while they were my parents, and my and my parents were my siblings, and so it got petitioned about 5 years later, and that was that whole Philippines game. You just had to sit there and get petitioned, and when you get called in, and then that's usually around, I think it's like 5 to 7 years, and then you come over, and that's how it went. But it's a lot of, it's definitely one of those things where a lot of the gender stereotypes, especially that we're talking about now, that's out there that everybody, like mainstream, talks about. It really doesn't apply to us. Just
I have gender preferences these days.
What gender stereotypes that would fall into that list actually do exist in the Asian communities, do you feel? Like prevalent? Like boys will be boys, or girls play with,
boys will be boys is throughout the board.
That's just
the boys will be
testosterone, right? That's just them, acting up. But some of the girls get up in there and just want to be hanging out. But is that far and few?
Just people that just want to hang out.
As far as the girls trying to be, part of the boys, or do you think they still to this day? Do you think they still kind of just stay together as like, I'm just going to play with my dolls here and there? Or are there more crossovers? I don't have a girl, so I really don't see that. But I see a lot more the younger ladies and the younger girls that I know of, like nieces and friends' daughters and everything. They're playing a lot more sports, and they're a lot more, they're out there. They're doing their dang thing.
Yeah, that's how I feel right now too. It's like all the girls and my nieces and my little cousins that are females, they just be out here just playing sports, doing martial arts, just whatever, and not really worried about their boy cousins or nephews and stuff like that. My nephews,
holding their own.
Yeah, they're all doing their own thing. But when they do get together, I mean, it's pretty much, hey, let's just hang out, do this, and they just be competing with each other and teasing each other. But I mean, that's just a regular household, right? That's what I see in my regular household. So I don't know if it's the same anywhere else.
I've always been a tomboy. I've always been the girl that hangs out with dudes. I worked on cars. I B-girled. I was a doer, and the boys were doers. We go out and we do shit, and that's just how it was. The girls wanted to be indoors, and my parents didn't really let us go to other girls' houses, they're like, no, it's just not a thing we did. Even if there were other Asian people, my parents were like, we don't fucking know them. So then we were outside playing. I don't know how that's better, but we were outside playing, and then it ended up playing with cars, and then hanging out with the guys. And we called it parking lot pimping because we were outside on the parking lot all the time.
Just
Never
all
went
night till the
inside.
street lights came on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
really
how
it.
we were. But I never saw it, and I never, the guys I hung out with, I think about it, and they never made me feel like a girl. They were, because I also can joke around, so they never made me feel like a girl or that they were hanging out with a girl or anything. So that was nice. But also that was from like middle school and stuff. So at that age, you don't really develop that like segregation of female and male until like, I want to say high school. And then then you're like, oh, that's a girl,
Yeah.
But like in elementary and stuff, you're not. So, and I had these friends from them. So I had this habit of just being able to vibe with another male as just vibing and not seeing it anywhere else or what he should be doing. Like, I don't expect anyone to open my doors and stuff. Although when dudes do it, I let them do it because I am a woman and I like them to practice chivalry. That's a great male stereotype to keep. So yeah.
Did that just go out the window or what? Is that
is that not as existent anymore? I mean, I sure still practice it, and I definitely have my what's that?
Yeah.
I think there's a confusion. The men seems to think that chivalry is opening the door for a woman, but the act of caring for a woman's well-being is true chivalry, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just pulling the chair. So she can do all that shit. Like it's more than that. Chivalry is not dead, but I think it's misdirected.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also mistranslated on the other side when you are being that, and sometimes it's I guess the translation or whoever told you that you shouldn't expect certain things like that coming from the other sex or the other gender type of thing, especially in the male gender, to where you're feeling like they're a little bit more assertive or they're trying to like outdo you type of a thing. It's being lost at this point. And I agree with you. It definitely should still exist, especially just caring. It's just embedded in us. It's natural. If there is something that happens, you obviously want to protect. It's not because you think the other person is lesser than you or weaker than you. You just have that. It's like, I want to do this just because I think they're important enough to me for me to actually, take
Absolutely
that type of action. So yes, definitely. I mean, I would never lose that. And I hope my boys would never lose that also, because I already see that. What about you, E?
No,
I know you got the two boys over there.
Yeah, the two boys growing up. With me growing up in my family, my mom being the dominant one, and every time we go out, of course, we're taking care of her and stuff like that. But she's, doesn't really matter. But my dad, it all starts at home. And if your dad's not doing that stuff, like, where are you going to learn that from? Like opening the doors for her, or taking care of the bill. Or
I was so confused when I grew up.
Right? It's like, what? And then to see it now, and just how like social media portrays everything, and like you said, how like toxic is the thing, right? It's like, oh, we want to be toxic, but no, that kind of stuff with me doesn't really go well, because I'm still kind of old school, opening the doors and trying to pay for the bills. I mean, when my girl pays for the bill, sometimes I feel kind of awkward. I'm like, oh man, should I be taking care of this? So there's like a balance. Like, so when is it okay to kind of like take a step back and let your lady do that, or, pay the bill, but not open the door for you. But, it's like, oh, baby, can open the door for you.
That is a good question. And that leads to a lot of the movements going on right now, like in music and pop culture and everything like that. And just, culture period, to where there is a lot of uprising, especially with your music. It's like, you have to be a boss bitch, or you got to be a self-made, or I can, I'm a self-made bitch.
It's so annoying.
That's what it is right now.
Like, how much like, I understand you want to be less submissive to a certain extent, right? I understand.
No, that's not true. I want to go back to just having
there's some, there's some that feel that should be the case. I mean, we can both make our pitches to why it should be one or the other. I have I know where I feel that things should be, and because it worked back then, and I think and look where we're at right now, where we're very open minded if we actually follow that and still understand where our roles, as people and family. Families first, of course, but there's a lot of folks, unfortunately, that don't have that family, and now they have to try to figure out, how am I going to be an individual because I don't have a strong family background or strong foundation like that. Now you got to be this boss bitch, or now you got to be this dude that is that doesn't care, and you're just gonna have multiple partners and everything. I mean, it's glorified nowadays. You got Nick Cannon out here with 11 baby mamas.
Well, yeah, because they only say, I have a theory, right, that they say that the grass is greener on the other side when you're in a relationship, and it is. You know why? Because that's just turf. It hurts when you fall. It's always green. It looks the exact same. It builds nothing. And even if you wanted to build a garden, you have to tear the turf down. The turf is it. But at the same time, these days we have to understand that some people do better on the turf than they do watering plants. And they have to be real with that. And Nick Cannon's maybe one of those people that has understood that he's better at providing what he needs to for those whatever, but
is that really a good thing though, to just sit there and I mean, how was that? What's that say to your children? I think he lost a couple, and God bless him and having to go through that, but now he's got 9. I think he's got 9, and I'm sorry I have to pick on Nick. He's never going to watch this anyway, so Nick, I don't know how you feel about this. Certainly if you do watch this, what's up, what's good? But how about those 9 children?
I know,
it's just
but
like, what's that? That string, that next generation is just, and I don't know.
Because this one also, when the mom steps in, right, his baby mama's, man, he could be like bad mouthing. It's like, oh, your dad's this doesn't matter how much money he got. He's this POS dude, deadbeat dad, whatever. What if it's that's how it is now.
I think it also goes to who he thinks he wants to be for his children, and he may just be okay being this superstar. Dad that has provided financially, and then their mom has been able to be there for them because of the pay, like I don't know if the women have to work or not, or whatever, but he might just be okay being, like if that was you and you could provide, you can be this guy that does all this shit, you're not gonna be your kid's life though.
And just disappears, and just,
it's a choice.
Just, make sure they're okay financially. Man, I don't know.
And their mom's there. And
I don't think that's in my DNA to be like that, though. Even I would feel some type of way, just knowing that's your kid, and you just got to be like, oh man, if I could do it, if I could take care of you guys, and they truly understand that, hey, I'm busy and I want to be there. I mean, what can you do? Right? I mean, it's kind of hard to answer. I mean, I would try to be there at the same time, but there's challenges, right? I mean, you're a high profile A-list celebrity or whatever, but you're doing the best you can to provide, but you're just not there. But of course it goes along with the mothers, like, do you not even care to be
Cannon,
so that's the thing about that particular, and this is a very, very, like, this is a super one-off. Nick is, and who knows if there's other dudes out there. I'm sure there's many other dudes out there that's just out there and just whoring themselves out, right? But this guy had, I think, like 3 or 4 kids in the same year. So this just, all of a sudden you're having the same birthdays as your brothers, at the same year birthdays as your brothers, right? And it's just like, what does that really say? And I know, and my question initially was, and I know now we've gone to just the, just the Nick Cannon side, right? But like my question initially was the whole uprising and the message of, just being a boss bitch, being your self-made girl, just stand up for yourself type of thing, girl power type of stuff. Do you think, I mean, there's a lot of value in that. It gives a lot of self-esteem. It gives a lot of like, go-getter type of a thing. I think it's helped out quite a bit in men, like really being in that supportive role. And I think that's great. There's a lot of value in that. But I think there's a little bit, in my opinion, there's a little bit too much as far as just the extreme side of things with, especially in the music, in my opinion. Right now, I mean, it's just with in the rap music. And that's, I think that's more of, I don't know why that is. I don't know why they're pushing that now. But it's certainly it's not helping, in my opinion. What do you think?
No.
I feel like
it's
it's kind
not.
of causing like a
Yeah.
what do you call that? Like a power struggle, right? It's like, okay, I could be this by myself. I don't need no, do whatever to be saying in the music. And it does, because I feel that and I see it when when I'm just around, just doing normal things, and I can be like, oh man, this girl's really thinking she could do it. She's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just do this. And then you could tell by the way they dress and how they move around. And it's just like the music's really getting to them, right? Just thinking like, okay, I could be this hardcore rapper. I don't need no da 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 da. And it's just crazy what the influence of music does right now compared to what we're supposed to be back then. Like the provider or the mom being home, staying home. Now it's just like we don't give a.
Yeah. What's the positive side in that? Help me try to find the silver lining in that, Joelle.
I don't see one, man. I mean, go ahead, Joelle.
Yeah, because I mean, that's our daughters that are listening to that, and they're saying, do this, but at the same time, dress clad, and have.
Well, I mean, you can show your daughters that, which you shouldn't. Or you can show them movies with women that are attorneys, or you could show them movies that women are doctors. You could, there's a big push in movies these days to show more women in higher power,
in higher, yeah, absolutely,
yeah, and it's to bring the girls to be able, and you can watch them do that. Like, but as far as like, yeah, the music's catchy and stuff like that for these kids to listen to. I was a victim of it. I've grown up listening to not just rap music, but female rap music, like Diamond and like, really, really old school rap.
I was like Little Kim.
No, but
not even more underground than
Oxy.
that. But I didn't get brainwashed to think that I was better than a man, but I was brainwashed to think that I can do anything a man can do. So that brainwash was okay for me because I built a car and I built stuff, like it was.
Yeah, because back then they didn't have no Cardi B.
No,
yeah, but now it's.
Well, no, we did. Like we had it from.
Well, you had your Kim, your Foxy Browns,
and,
But they weren't as bad as what.
No, but you also had.
Well, it's glorified now. It's glorified.
But you also had that other rapper. You had your Lauryn Hills. You had your Mary J.
We did.
The strong ones. You had your Latifahs. But you don't have that right now. You have like just what's it like Ice Spice or whatever, like Rice, whatever
Ice Spice,
Ice Spice and Red. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know any of these girls.
but you just know them because they're on TV and you're just and they're just clad, and their strength is through their body and just their expression of their body, and it's just that's supposed to be strength nowadays. That's how you're showing you're strong, by looking like that and talking like that. And it's like I don't know how that can lead to something positive for a young woman. I can understand. You're very confident.
That's all
with yourself.
I'm parenting, honestly. I think that's all parenting. My parents didn't swear in the house. I mean. They had my sister at 24, and I can't stop swearing today. So I don't know, my parents were very strict, and we could never go out. Like I said, my mom never let us be feminine. Like she was like, you're going to get raped. What's wrong with you? So never. And but the kids these days, I don't really see in the natural daylight kids acting that way. And that's good.
There's a small population, and I think it's a small, loud, vocal population.
Yeah, and I mean, we had gangster kids too, and they were annoying. So, I mean, I think it's a fad, and hopefully they grow out of it.
Hopefully it's a fad.
There's no career in it. That's the good thing. There's no career in it. It's just
I mean, just if you dress like that, that's your career, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this:
it's a trend.
Is there more of a divide in understanding? So like when we were growing up, like you had mentioned, our parents were first generation. I'm first generation. I came here when I was 6 years old. But then when I started getting into
your kids are first generation.
I'm first generation because you're the first generation that's here. You're the very first generation of
that's the one born in this land. No, that's first generation.
The one that you are actually they would be second generation. And then anyone else that actually really know that, and you can look this up. For us, you can definitely chime in. But from my understanding, it's like when you're actually the first ones here, it doesn't matter if your parents and yourself are here. And when you came here to the U.S., you're the first generation that came to the U.S. Not just your parents. It would be you. So if us as a family came,
yeah, my mom's
that's
first generation. Yeah,
she was thought it was my and then we came. That would be first generation.
That would be, from my understanding, that would be second generation.
Okay, well,
but we can look that up, and I open to be corrected. You know, I love being
for sure, me too,
and with knowledge. But with them coming here, and you know, and with my parents, my dad was military, and before that, he was out in the farms. He was a farmer, and my mom was just basically work, and she was a young professional, and them not really understanding what the culture is in the U.S. And then, mind you, when I came here, it was gangs. Like you said, it was that type of culture. The music kicked in. It was gangster rap and everything like that. And I got caught up. And I think a lot of the kids during like the early 90s got caught up. They started dressing all weird. They started, just being out in the streets. And the music that we listened to, it really wasn't what they were used to in PI, right? So
yeah.
So is there more a divide in understanding what our parents were seeing us act like, and they're like, I don't know what these kids are doing? Or is there more divide now for us that with us knowing what we went through and the times that we went through, and then we're looking at these kids now and this push of like what we think is just bad for them because of this particular type of music and maybe over stimulation and over kind of like rah of what you should be, right? And what current music and popular music is actually pushing them to. Because there's a lot of stuff in pop music. We were talking about this, E. It's like, you got Doja Cat out there. What the hell happened to Doja Cat? What happened to Sam Smith? It's like, what is that direction that they're taking with the music? And if I understand we went grunge back then, I understand there was Metallica and, we had like death metal and everything, but it's not getting to the point where it's specific. You're sitting there turning with horns right now. So is there more of divide and understanding back then with our parents and us, or us and our kids right now and the music that they're being pushed to?
There's a divide between morality and marketing. So there's a divide with what you want. We know now what we watched and what our parents were saying no to, that we were like, yes, we know now why they were saying no. And that's what's happening with you. Now you know what you're exactly. But now you're in competition with these amazing heads that can turn your head by making a noise. They have marketing so down that like your kids are turning their head without wanting it. They might not even like that song. They're just turning their head because of whatever. Because Doja Cat has said herself that she's doing all of this to push the button that everybody keeps saying she's Illuminati. So she's pushing the buttons by doing the rituals, because that's
she's definitely pressing those buttons.
Yeah,
I mean, she said
it in the interviews, and she tells people, I'm doing this because you guys are telling me I went that way. And what is it doing? It's making people watch it more, and that's all they want. They just want more watches.
I've watched it less. I miss old Doja Cat.
But
I didn't mind her back then, but then I think more and more people are actually turned off at this point. I've seen a lot of people turn around.
We weren't going to watch the Doja Cat at all. We don't have MTV like we used to. Like, it just doesn't pop up like that. The only reason it popped up in our lives is because they put little skits, little shorts, little reels about it. So we can like, what is she doing? What is that? So we could go look. No one was cared.
I don't go looking. Once I heard that stuff, I'm like turned off immediately.
But I mean,
that's what I tell my son too.
That may be isolated to might be isolated to Doja, but how do we explain Sam Smith right now? He's gone.
Sam Smith is in his. I mean, we're not in that community. He's in the community. He might be doing his own thing. We don't know, but he's pushing a community that we're not. Doja Cat's community, where it's more, female empowerment, whatever she's doing.
Female empowerment with Doja Cat.
You don't need to be doing all that.
That's what she's trying to do. Is be a female strong rapper and be herself. I don't know.
Is that being creative? Is she being a creative artist and trying to push it?
There's an artist and then there's sponsors to the artist. So like the sponsors to her artist are making.
So she's the puppet basically.
Absolutely, because money talks, and you're going to sell yourself out for a certain amount. So,
So to tie that back in, then I think a lot of the music and a lot of the movements nowadays, there's definitely a lot a lot less gender stereotypes that we're actually experiencing, mainly because just the openness. There's a lot more, there's a lot more demand of crossing over. I mean, I think E had also brought this up in previous episodes to where, like, even K-pop is introducing a lot more, I don't want to say femininity, but a lot more different ways of getting dressed for men. They're sitting there. I mean, more and more men are now sitting there with like a lot longer hair, and they're a lot more
skinny jeans.
Yes, well, we had skinny jeans back then too. But then,
Especially
they're not painting their nails and putting little clips in their hair. A la Drake right now.
That's what Drake's doing, yeah.
A la Drake right now. So there's that.
Just being more open to everything, right? So
I look at it, right, and I see what marketing is doing right now is, they have the women these days, if they love themselves, they would never buy makeup. There's the whole beauty industry was shutter, right? But that's because it's only women. What they're doing now is they're letting men do makeup too.
Have their line.
I don't know. I'm not gonna do that.
Line. You're not, but you see, if you go to Ulta or any kind of like women's stores, there's a section for eyeshadow, and there's a little boy.
For men and boys?
For little boys. And that's the thing. It's like they're letting them play with things so that they can buy it, because now men will buy makeup.
There's more marketing.
No.
And more marketing.
You never put makeup on, E? I know you put makeup on, man.
Maybe some lipstick, but that's it. No, I'm just kidding.
Boy, you calm down. No, well now. So here's the weird stuff. Is like back then, and people boys are lying if they say no, I never did that. It's like back then when the boys
line it up.
The guys were banging back then, they would like put a little like mascara, like eyeliner and everything.
Ooh,
and they would put it in the pictures when you take pictures. They're like, because it makes you look harder.
What?
I swear to God.
That's not it, man.
Guys were sitting there looking all hard. I was like, ooh, he got a little bit of shadow underneath his eye. He looks
looking like the Crow.
I think the most I've ever did was probably nail polish. I mean, that's a big thing right now. A lot of men
nail polish, right? Yeah, my son, he gets his toes. He just likes the colors.
Pedicures are cool.
Do your colors right. Put your socks on though.
Color your toes.
I go get pedicures with my guy friends.
Yeah. Yeah. You do pedicures though, E?
No, I've done it once though, man. That's just bomb. I ain't gonna lie. If you guys ain't doing pedicures and doing that self-care down there, man, you guys.
I do it because there's they have a you can get drinks. I sit there and get my
Well, we can at ours too.
Yeah, I sit there getting drunk.
Get your calves massage and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, mimosa every time.
Get some of the rock sugar on my legs. That's definitely crossing over from the stereotypes. I do like my petties. I don't know, but the manis, I don't like my hand being held by another person other than my wife.
So if the time was 1960, 1970s, is that still cool or nah?
Back then, like little
it's unfortunate because they needed it back then the most.
Oh man, yeah, them. They had them greasy.
They needed it.
But no, so if you were to do that back then, wouldn't they call you like something? They would just be like, "Hey, man, that's not right. They'll
call you gay. They'd be like, "Oh, that guy's got a little bit of switch in his pants." It's like
they would shoot you or beat your ass.
Yeah, right.
Tell you.
You'd definitely be alienated. We've definitely come a long way. We've definitely come a long way. No, I'll tell you this conversation. It's hard for us to speak past what we experience and what we know, right? And I don't want to speak out of turn and speak like, oh yeah, this particular culture, is like this, and they do it differently, and it's not better or worse or anything like that. We can only speak from how we grew up, and I think from our conversation here, I think I'd never even realized it, but we were a lot more open. Just the Filipino community and the Southeast Asian community. There's a lot less gender stereotypes from what I'm hearing. There's definitely toxic cultural stuff, and that's a different conversation. The toxic cultural stuff. Yeah. And that's another conversation that we can definitely get into. Joelle, we need to bring you back out for that. And I think, Joelle, you're going to do more pods with us?
I'm down for it. Yeah.
Can you?
Can you?
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to make this a little bit more recurring, because it's me and E just bouncing stuff toward each other. Sometimes we just look at each other and like, what do you want to talk about now?
That's not true. That's not true. But listen, we get it popping. It's live out here in Wuz Good, and everybody knows that.
We are going to take, Joelle can't be with us probably. I don't know about next week. I don't know how many pods we're going to do next week because we have a big one coming up. I do want to plug that. Mm-hmm. We've got a special guest coming next week. You guys are going to want to see that. It's, I don't know, should we even drop the name or should we just kind of prop that up for next week? What do you think, bro? I'm excited.
For next week. Yeah, no, it's gonna be good. I'm excited too.
I'm very excited. So let's just say this artist comedian is someone that a lot of you folks follow and a lot of you all know, because when I took a look at our common followers and that follow him, there's a lot in common there. So you guys are going to enjoy it. He's very entertaining. We're very much looking forward to it. So very soon we're going to plug that. And also we do have a call to action. I guess that's what it's called in this particular line of media, right? A call to action. We're trying to get 500 followers in YouTube, and we're going to pay this thing off. I've got something that I'm going to, once we hit that, we're going to have a special episode where we're going to say something in there, and then, or if you even are in that episode, if you're watching that episode, if you comment in that episode, that's going to come in. And once we hit 500, if we don't hit 500, well, then, we're no go. But once we hit 500, there's going to be a giveaway, and it's not going to be, it's going to be something pretty nice. So make sure to keep your eye out for that. So yeah, definitely looking forward to next week. Joelle, I'd hate to cut this short, but it's been really nice. I want to leave a little bit meat on the bone because I know we got some more topics we want to chop it up with you with. Very much appreciate it. Your insights are, it's very much welcome and it's very much needed in this, this male stereotypical environment that we have with Wuz Good. All right.
For sure. I'm down. All right. We'll get more topics into.
All right. We'll put your socials up there. We'll have more people following you. You guys need to follow her. She's very, very entertaining. She's got a lot of good stuff out there, a lot of good content, very artistic. So yeah, make sure you follow her. We'll put her contacts right here. Is that how they do it? Right here. And then I'll put
right.
All right.
Like and subscribe right here.
You got anything else, E? Let them know.
No, I want to plug a little bit of something. So November 18th is about 2 weeks from now. We're having a pop-up at Stonehouse.
Yes.
For anybody that's listening, you guys know where that's at. Come join in. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I mean, there's going to be a lot of vendors and food, and people like to drink. There's going to have a little bit of drink over there too. So man, come see me down there. Give us, show some love and support.
Where's that
Stonehouse.
at?
It's at the Stonehouse right there on Rainier Avenue. Mm-hmm.
Renton.
Right by the lake. Yep, right by the lake. So between Renton and Rainier Beach. So if you're going down, the scenic route on the right, you'll see the Stonehouse. It gets popping out there. So
yeah, if you know the Stonehouse is definitely well known. That's a nice little spot. Be there early because that place gets packed. The parking gets a little sketchy. So yeah, but it's definitely going to be packed for that day. There's going to be a lot of activities there. I saw the flyers going around. So you said November 18th, right?
November 18th, 10 a.m.
I'm glad you guys are doing that, man. That's dope.
I know. It's been a long time for me too. So I'm not nervous or anything like that. I just wanted to bring everybody out to let them know that, hey, I ain't left yet. So Creative Soul is going to be down there. We might be doing Tooth Gems. I don't know, with 11-9. It all depends on what they let us do. But, Creative Soul, I'm going to put something down. I got some new shit coming out. So make sure you guys come down and see me. And everybody else that's going to be participating in the pop-up.
Dope. All right, y'all. Well, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Again, next week is going to be something pretty dope. So y'all keep in touch. All right. Peace.
Yeah, all right, y'all.